Now to the cackling witch herself, Joy Behar from The View, whose jealousy is something to behold.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Here is Joy objectifying the White House press secretary, saying she only has the job because she's hot.
Joy Behar, the outspoken face of The View for decades, has never been a stranger to controversy. Known for her biting wit and unapologetic delivery, she has often walked a fine line between sharp commentary and outright provocation. But this time, it seems the line wasn't just crossed, it was obliterated. What started as yet another offhand remark on daytime television has now spiraled into one of the most significant scandals in The View's long history, leading to Behar's abrupt and stunning exit. Fans, critics, and even her closest colleagues were left stunned as ABC quietly confirmed the news, offering little more than a vague statement. But behind the corporate silence, a storm has been brewing, one that involves lawsuits, accusations of hypocrisy, and questions about the very future of outspoken television personalities. It all began during a segment where Behar turned her sharp tongue toward Karoline Leavitt, the young and rising White House press secretary under Donald Trump. With a tone dripping in sarcasm, Behar dismissed Leavitt's professional credentials entirely, suggesting she hadn't earned her position through merit, but was instead hired because, in Trump's own words, she was a 10. It was a remark that landed like a thunderclap, not just for its disrespect, but because it came from Behar herself, a woman who has built her career championing feminism, equality, and the fight against sexism in media. The studio audience, accustomed to Behar's bold takes, fell silent in shock. Even her fellow co-hosts, often supportive of her more controversial moments, shifted uneasily in their seats, recognizing the weight of what had just been said. The clip quickly made its way online, and within minutes, social media ignited into a frenzy. Hashtags like #CancelJoyBehar and #FireJoyBehar trended across Twitter as critics accused her of undermining everything she claimed to stand for. To reduce a woman in politics to nothing more than her physical appearance struck many as the ultimate betrayal of the feminist values Behar had long proclaimed. The irony was too glaring to ignore. For years, she had called out male politicians, celebrities, and media figures for sexism, and yet here she was doing the very same thing. Supporters who once defended her unfiltered style found themselves unable to justify the comment.
Ever-empowering feminist Joy herself, everyone. And this is why, of course, she's on The View and not working for the most powerful man in the world.
The View hosts have got themselves into hot water again after they did the very thing they purport to be against, undermining women's success. Joy Behar stunned viewers when she said Donald Trump's press secretary, 27-year-old Karoline Leavitt, only secured her position because of her good looks.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
The comment was bizarre, especially coming from Joy Behar, who is as woke as they come and positions herself as a champion of feminism. This online commentator said, disgusting Joy Behar of The View accuses Karoline Leavitt of being hired.
But while the backlash grew louder, Behar herself seemed unfazed. Rather than offering a clarification or apology, she brushed it aside as though it were just another passing controversy. This time, however, it wasn't so simple. Karoline Leavitt, far from letting the moment slide, hit back with force. Not with a tweet. Not with a press statement, but with a lawsuit. Leavitt accused Behar of outright defamation, claiming her words were not just insulting, but actively damaging to her professional credibility. Legal experts quickly weighed in, pointing out that this wasn't a case of mere offense. Defamation requires intent and harm, and Leavitt's team argued that Behar's comments were not a slip of the tongue, but a deliberate attempt to discredit her in front of a national audience. They alleged malice, suggesting Behar knew exactly what she was doing and intended to undermine Leavitt's standing. The lawsuit placed ABC in an impossible position. For years, the network had stood by Behar, weathering countless controversies sparked by her unfiltered opinions. But a defamation case was different. It wasn't just bad press, it was a legal and financial threat. Executives scrambled in behind-the-scenes meetings, weighing their options. Support Behar and risk a long, messy courtroom battle that could tarnish the network for years? Or cut ties and sacrifice one of the show's most recognizable personalities in the hopes of damage control?
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Here is Joy objectifying the White House press secretary, saying she only has the job because she's hot.
The tension was palpable. Insiders described staffers divided. Some believed Behar had finally gone too far, while others argued she was being unfairly targeted. Options were floated, from a temporary suspension to forcing a public apology. But the situation escalated faster than anyone expected. Then came the bombshell. Joy Behar was out. ABC's statement was brief, carefully worded, and unconvincing. They described Behar's departure as her decision to step away, but the timing coming right after the lawsuit and the online uproar told another story. Insiders whispered that the network had already decided she was too much of a liability and acted swiftly before the situation spiraled further. Reactions poured in from every corner. Some celebrated, calling it long overdue. For years, they said, Behar had skirted accountability, and this moment was justice catching up with her. Others were outraged, accusing ABC of corporate cowardice and caving to political pressure. Was this accountability, or was it cancel culture at its most ruthless? That question quickly became the new flashpoint. But the controversy didn't stop with Behar's exit. Attention soon turned to The View itself. What would the show look like without its most polarizing figure? Love her or hate her, Behar was a magnet for headlines, someone whose very presence guaranteed sparks. Would ABC play it safe, bringing in a less divisive replacement to avoid future scandals? Or would they lean into the chaos and find someone equally fiery, willing to stir the pot in ways that kept audiences talking?
Because Karoline would wipe the floor with you bitter banshees any day.
How well you can do your job, and the American people agree with that sentiment. So it's about competence, skill, and merit.
The lawsuit loomed large in the background. With Behar gone, what would become of the case? Would ABC quietly settle, cutting a deal with Leavitt to bury the controversy before it dragged on? Or would Leavitt refuse to settle, pushing forward in court to set an example about accountability in media? Legal analysts suggested the outcome could set a precedent. If Leavitt prevailed, it might force networks to rethink how much leeway they give outspoken hosts who thrive on provocation. The ripple effects could change television forever. Beyond the legal battle, the scandal sparked deeper questions about the media landscape. Should TV personalities have the freedom to speak without fear of lawsuits and cancellation? Or is there a responsibility that comes with such influence, a line that must not be crossed? For some, Behar's downfall symbolized necessary accountability, proving that no one, not even a television veteran, was above consequences. For others, it was yet another sign that free expression was under siege and that cancel culture had gone too far.
Behar may have your jobs because of wokeness, but do not smear a competent professional woman like her nonsense, and don't lie about this being her first job. We know what you're doing.
Meanwhile, Behar herself has remained unusually quiet. No fiery defense. No pointed clapback. Just silence. Her absence only fuels speculation. Will she resurface with her own side of the story, perhaps in an interview or even a tell-all memoir? Or will she retreat from the spotlight entirely, content to let her legacy fade rather than fight a public battle she can't win? Those close to her remain tight-lipped, but the possibilities are endless. If history is any indication, Joy Behar won't stay quiet for long. What makes this moment even more consequential is how it intersects with the larger political and cultural landscape. At a time when media narratives are more polarized than ever, when accusations of hypocrisy and bias dominate the discourse, Behar's downfall has become more than just a celebrity scandal.
Democrats have been labeling President Trump a to democracy for the better half of 10 years. Let's talk about how they have compared him to one of the worst mass in the history of the world, and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weaponized the court system and the justice system in this country against Donald Trump in an attempt to imprison him. He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political that has led to 2 heinous attempts on President Trump's life that, by the grace of God, he was able to escape, and he is here with us today. So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political because he's experienced it himself. And talking about the tragic realities of war that Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney, have got this country into is not political. It's talking about the reality of the foreign conflicts that the Washington, D.C. establishment have sold out young.
It's a case study in the collision between free speech, accountability, and the unforgiving speed of the internet. The View itself now faces a reckoning. Without Behar's presence, can it maintain its identity as the battleground of daytime television? Or will audiences drift away, unconvinced by a watered-down version of the show? ABC is gambling, and the stakes couldn't be higher. One thing is clear, this isn't just about Joy Behar anymore. It's about the shifting rules of media, the limits of commentary, and the future of television itself. The question isn't only whether Behar deserved to go, it's whether this moment marks the start of a new era, one where networks prioritize safety over spectacle, or whether controversy will always remain the currency of TV. For now, viewers are left with more questions than answers. Was this justice or overreach? Will The View bounce back or collapse under the weight of its own contradictions? And most of all, what comes next for Joy Behar, a woman who has defined and defied television for decades? Her departure closes one chapter, but opens another, and the story is far from finished. Because if history tells us anything, it's that Joy Behar has never been one to fade quietly into the background. And whether she returns swinging or retreats into silence, her exit has already reshaped the media landscape in ways that will echo for years to come.